What's up guys, it's Zero here. Dead Space 4, let's talk about it. So I have been pounding this table talking about a Dead Space 4 and why we need a continuation of this iconic franchise. Obviously, we got the Dead Space remake, which was incredible in a number of ways. It did very well commercially, and obviously it's been leaving a lot of us who are huge Dead Space fans with a lot of questions whether or not they're going to make another Dead Space remake, that being Dead Space 2, or if they're going to skip ahead to Dead Space 4. Well, what I got for you today is why they should make Dead Space 4 first and then a Dead Space 2 remake. In an article coming to us from Hayes Madsen of Inverse, Dead Space 4 needs to redefine the series before we get another remake. The original Dead Space was already a survival horror standout, but the ambitious remake easily cements its place among the genre's best. Eamotive brought meaningful changes and gameplay additions that make the experience more vibrant than ever, on top of a gorgeous coat of paint that only heightens the horrific atmosphere. So what's next for the series? While a new survey from EA asks fans if they'd be down for remakes of Dead Space 2 and 3, it'd be a far better idea to let Eamotive flex its muscles with a brand new entry. Before the Dead Space remake, it had been a whopping 10 years since the last entry in the franchise. 10 years is a lot of time for the game industry to change, which is why Eamotive made a host of changes to the first game, like no loading screens, optional objectives, and deeper storytelling, but many of those quality of life features are already present in Dead Space 2. Dead Space 2 was one of those nearly perfect sequels that improved on everything from the first game, introducing full zero-G movement, tighter gameplay, and a deeper narrative on top of giving Isaac a voice. The catch here is that Dead Space 2 simply doesn't need the updates the original did, and it's hard to even imagine how you might improve it to begin with. So I totally agree with this. I believe that a Dead Space 4 makes a lot more sense because I think that they do need to continue redefining the franchise. And I think, guys, that even though I believe that they should definitely, that being Eamotive, should do remakes eventually with updated graphics and things of that nature, I believe the next edition should be a Dead Space 4. It wouldn't surprise me if EA decided to do a Dead Space 2 remake and then a Dead Space 3 remake and then made Dead Space 4, but I do just think that since time's gone on, I believe so many of us who are diehard Dead Space fans who have been here from the beginning would love to see a continuation of the franchise. With that in mind, it'd be far more effective to put Eamotive on a brand new entry in the franchise, one that finally follows up on the lingering questions left by the ending of Dead Space 3. It's clear that the studio knows what makes a Dead Space game tick, and it'd be fascinating to see what it could do with a clean slate. All of this isn't to say Dead Space 2 and 3 should be left in the dust, but the better idea here is to simply re-release the game on modern platforms with updated visuals, not built from the ground up like the remake, but just given a bit of polish. This would retain the original vision of the series, while Eamotive can branch off with its own ideas. While a new game could follow up on the cliffhanger of Dead Space 3, perhaps the better option lies in the alternate ending of the remake. This new ending sees a disturbingly cheerful Isaac aboard the escape shuttle talking to the hallucination of Nicole. As Nicole asks, "Are we going home?" Isaac gleefully responds, "Soon, I've got to build a little something first." This ending suggests that Isaac is under the influence of the marker and plans to build an entirely new marker, potentially on Earth. If a new game follows up on this ending, we could potentially see Isaac as the villain, trying to spread the marker's influence to all of humanity. This gives Eamotive the perfect chance to introduce a new protagonist or put an interesting new spin on one of the franchise's major characters, Ellie Langford, who's first introduced in Dead Space 2. And I agree, there's so many different directions that they could take, and I love the idea of doing like just a polish of Dead Space 2 and 3 instead of doing full, remakes of the games. For Eamotive, I mean, what they would have to do is they would have to split their team up into parts if they were to do, Dead Space 4 as well as a Dead Space 2 remake and then a Dead Space 3 remake. I do believe that just doing some polishes of those other two entries, that being Dead Space 2 and 3, could suffice, and then the major amount of the team is focused on a Dead Space 4. It makes a lot of sense, and a lot of us are just asking those questions and really want to see a true continuation of this franchise. And it would make a lot of sense to me because obviously Dead Space and the remake that came out from Eamotive proved to be something really special and that there's still a lot of interest in Dead Space. For an example of why Motive should simply move on to a new game, you need only look at another iconic sci-fi horror series, Metroid. The Studio Mercury's team came onto the franchise with Samus Returns, a remake of Metroid 2 Return of Samus, which received solid reviews and reception. From there, Mercury's team took what it had learned to make Metroid Dread, which almost immediately became the best-selling game in the entire franchise. Metroid Dread is a prime example of how a developer that clearly loves a property can bring its own unique spin and flourish. While EA could certainly spend time remaking the previous Dead Space games, it'd be a real pity to not let the talented team at Motive run wild. And I agree with this, because the amount of time that EA Motive is going to spend on, a Dead Space 2 remake and then a Dead Space 3 remake, which I'm sure that they would make the Dead Space 3 remake be better than the original Dead Space 3, because I thought it was a real turn in the wrong direction. But that being said, EA Motive, as the years go on, they may lose members of their team. There's a lot of change that happens in the games industry year over year. And so really, I feel that it's important that you strike while the iron's hot, make a Dead Space 4 right now, and, of course, keep a small portion of the team at EA Motive working on polishing Dead Space 2 and then a Dead Space 3, and have them working on those, and then those release as like a Dead Space collection. And then you've got, of course, the Dead Space 4, which comes out, in the next number of years. I would love to hear your thoughts about this in the comment section down below. Do you think that Dead Space 4 should be the next game in the Dead Space franchise, or do you think that they should be doing a Dead Space 2 remake and then a Dead Space 3 remake? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And at the end of the gameplay, check out my next Dead Space 4 video. And if you guys enjoy it, make sure you leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, stay positive, just keep grinding. And as always, I'll talk to you guys all in the next one. Peace.
Isaac, don't bother shooting those fuckers in the head. Doesn't even slow them down.
Okay. The only way is hacking them apart. Those arms, their legs.
Did that even kill them? Or did they just stop moving?
Message retrieved.
Vents into engineering. You got a stasis module handy? We need one in tram maintenance stat. The autoloader's fried. I got a damaged tram car on the tracks, and if the whole system's gridlocked, guess who they're calling?
Temple here, sending a stasis module now.
Prepare systems
What happened to the
online.
autoloader?
Loading
No
system
idea.
reinitialized.
A lot of shit's been breaking down. I keep hearing things. Down in the gears, but no one can be. You know?
Autoloader malfunction. Please contact a repair technician. Right loader claw disengaged. Left loader claw engaged. Right loader claw disengaged.
Any luck moving that tram car?
The autoloader's busted, but stasis should do the trick. Just gotta time it.
Right loader claw engaged. Replacing damaged tram car. Please stand by. Tram replacement complete.
You got it. The tram was jamming the whole system.
That's one down. You said a data board was fried too?
Inventory says there's a spare board in the maintenance bay. We can't run the trams without it.
movement.
Hold on. I got the data board. I'm coming back to tram control now.
Daniels, get ready to go.
Data board reinstalled. System restart complete. Maintenance complete. Calling tram.
It's clear!
Now arriving at flight deck tram control.
We're on board. Something hit the roof, but it seems operational.
Quarantine lockdown's lifted, so you can get to the hangar. Comms are still down though, so be ready for anything.
What's the plan?
You and Johnston fix up the Kellyan. We report to the bridge. Standard emergency protocol.
What? Protocol? Hammond, people are dying here.
And I'm not losing anyone else. We stick to procedure. We'll get through this.
We'll see.
Isaac, we made it to the bridge. There's no survivors. Daniels is trying to get into the command computer.
What have you got on you? Is that blood?
Haley, I need you to listen. The Ishimura's overrun with... They're fucking monsters. You didn't hear anything?
What? No, the comms are still out. Isaac...
We need the Kellyan fixed now. Got a damage report?
Yeah, it's there. Should have been with you.
Oh god. This is the Marine Corps.
American Corps. Evacuate me. We get up to safety.
Go!
happening down there?
Johnson's gone. The Kellian too. The Singularity Core overloaded.
No!
The Kellian was our only way home. We're trapped.
No! I'm not losing two good people for nothing. What about the command computer?
It's a brick. All the primary systems are locked down with the captain's codes.
So we find Captain Matthias, track his rig.
Okay. Okay, here. Captain Benjamin Matthias. Location medical. Status deceased?
Even the captain? God.
Isaac, you're closer to medical. You can double back and cut through maintenance. Find the captain's body and get his rig. With his codes, we... What was that? Chen?